that just wasn't able to translate with the voters. What was going on here with Cory Booker, do you think? Because this is definitely someone who people will always say to you, well, when you meet him in person, he's just so dynamic, but somehow that didn't connect, whether, through the TV on debate night or when he was meeting with voters. What's going on here?
The campaign did see the biggest engagement. It's exactly what you're saying. When people see him, they love him. So everyone was saying after debates, they were saying, oh, he did a great job. We thought he did so well. It was almost like the bar was set so high that people expected him to do well, and then he kept meeting it. He never fumbled, but they did see he was always strong. They did see big fundraising bumps coming in after every debate, but it wasn't like the huge ones, right? It wasn't like the first debate with Kamala Harris, like the huge breakout moment. Everyone had the same question, to be honest with you. Everyone in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, everybody loved him. Everyone loved his staff, but they just were. It became very cyclical. Like, well, I like that guy, but I don't know why he's not doing any better. It was almost like everyone was like looking for what an answer might be.
Yeah, I like that guy. I don't know why he's not doing any better. I'm not sure I'm going to vote for him, but I like that guy. It just never broke out from that. Also, he had an issue, wasn't really connecting with African American voters. Why do you think that was?
There was a bit of a skepticism. Look, the biggest factor driving all voters, every state, every constituency in this race is who will defeat Donald Trump. You go constituency by constituency, it's everybody's number one issue. And there was a concern that people who had voted, particularly white voters who had voted for Obama and then had maybe switched to Trump, would not come around and vote for Booker. I'm currently speaking to a lot of experts in South Carolina, in particular, who were telling me that a lot of voters feel that way. They did expect that if he made it to the South Carolina primary, he would do better than the polling shows, but that still there was skepticism that, it wasn't them that wouldn't vote for him, it was that guy. It was someone else that wouldn't vote for him.
It's this, funny thing that everyone seems to be saying that, well, I mean, that guy isn't voting for him. I think he's good, but definitely just a lack of or a disconnect there. So we got to ask what's next for him. As soon as someone drops out, we have to wonder, what are they going to do? Any chance you think that he could become someone's running mate? Do we expect an endorsement to come from him soon? What could come next? I mean, we know he has other responsibilities, but...
I was about to say, I think tomorrow will be impeachment, so that'll be...
Beyond tomorrow, do you think there's a shot someone might want to run with Booker?
I think there's a very strong chance. His favorables continued to be high. I mean, even from the Wall Street Journal last week, what people asked, the question was, which Democratic candidate, would you still be happy with, even if it weren't your first choice? I think he was at the top of the poll. Like, people still do really like him, have very strong favorabilities around him, especially as we know that the race for anyone who's going to win a Democratic nomination and then potentially beat President Trump has to put together a different coalition than Obama had. And we know that coalition has to involve two groups that Cory Booker is particularly strong with: African Americans, both men and women, but also independent and Republican women. He does very well with that constituency. And that is a group that any Democratic nominee is going to really, really have to turn out. So they would be, and everybody likes him. Yeah. The candidates like him.
They might not vote for him, but everybody
They might not vote for him, but he has good relationships with all the senators. He has good relationships with all the electeds. He kept running a very positive race. Maybe to his detriment. Maybe voters wanted to see a more negative race, quite frankly. But he has good relationships with everyone, so he hasn't burned any bridges. They could certainly choose him as a vice presidential nominee.
Look, and when you look at the candidates who are left, particularly those who are polling very well, it is a very white group of Democrats.
They could certainly use him on that ticket. Definitely. I mean, there's no like magic formula, I'd say, to any of the candidates that are left. We do hear a lot of nostalgia for Obama, and so that's why a lot of particularly older African-American voters feel a connection with Biden. Actually, particularly in South Carolina, he has a very long history there because of their long-serving Senator Fritz Hollings, who he was very close with, spoke at his funeral. But that does not translate to the entire rest of the country. In a white field that started out considerably more diverse, they could certainly use Cory Booker on a ticket.
Let me ask you about this, because we did talk about impeachment, and obviously that's going to be something Cory Booker will be very involved with going forward. As you said, tomorrow, perhaps, that's the most immediate thing. How about the campaign itself, though? I mean, there are senators who will have to take time off from campaigning to be dealing with the impeachment trial. How do you think that'll affect things?
I think it's a huge curveball for anyone who's still left in the race, especially the senators. So for Warren, Sanders, Bennett is still in the race, and Klobuchar, all of them, the more face time they can get with voters and caucus goers in Iowa, the more to their advantage. The more they're not there, the more to their disadvantage. This race, especially with the top four at the top of the ticket, is really at the top of the polling, is really very split. So, and the caucus is crazy. Like the Iowa caucus is crazy. It's not like showing up to vote. You walk in and you walk out.
Yeah.
You are in that caucus. You are arguing with neighbors. You are trying to convince them to get to your side.
Thing.
It is a big old thing. And so the intensity around the candidates really matters a lot. So if someone can remember having a personal connection, whether they saw someone in a town hall or they had a conversation with a candidate, that intensity matters a lot in Iowa. So if you're not able to get that face time as a candidate, they might not stick around for you.
Emily, Tisch Sussman, we hit a lot of topics today.